assumptions, and I know you talk about assertions as well. This is a hard one at first, Marcia, especially assumptions of other people. And sometimes we do it unconsciously. We can just assume bad things that aren't even happening. And it's not really what is truth, but all human beings do this, and sometimes mostly for the negative. Take us down this path a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, just to be clear, assumptions are like your beliefs, they're the paradigm in which you live. And then there are two domains that you have in the visible world, one domain that exists in the invisible world. So those domains are the domains. As a human being, you live in three worlds: the world or the domain of being, the world of domain of doing, and the world or domain of having. In the visible world, where action takes place, where you live, not where you dream, but where action happens and things exist, there are two domains: there's action and there's interpretation of action. Assumptions, how you think, live in your dream world or the invisible world of be. But your assessments and your assertions live in the world of action and language. And always think of it that there is something that happens, and then we all, as human beings, have this natural, absolutely expertise where we decide what that means. So we interpret all actions. And a lot of what we do is we assume our interpretations are correct. So if you walk into a room, for example, and you're frowning, everybody in that room is going to decide what that means. Oh, he's unhappy. Oh, he's mad. Oh, he doesn't like this particular meeting. Oh, he is in a bad mood. Those are all interpretations of the action of you having a frown on your face. Now, do we know if those interpretations are accurate or not? No, we don't. But what happens with human beings is they collapse those two domains of doing and having, the world of action and your interpretation of action, together. And then they start saying what you're doing is the interpretation that they've made. Oh, you are mad. Not that you walked in, you had a frown on your face, and my interpretation of that is that you might be mad. That's a totally different thing than telling someone he was mad, he was upset, he was being whatever. So we want to separate those two domains and realize there's action in the world, and then we add meaning to that action and we create our own interpretation. And when we start viewing the world like that, and we start realizing we have our interpretation of whatever they're doing and what it means, then we start having a communication with someone where we can ask them, is this what you meant by what you did? Did your action mean that you feel this way? Or can you tell me what your action just meant to you so that I know what I can do about it, rather than collapsing them together? So that's an assessment. Somebody's making an assessment of you when they watch you in action. And the other things we do with assessments when we get them, because people give us feedback, whether we want it or not, is we always take usually that feedback personally. And we don't need to do that. If we want to be effective, we need to learn not to do that. We need to learn that somebody giving us an assessment is just their interpretation of some action that we did. It's not our real self. It's how we're showing up for them, which means it's the identity we have for them. And that's how people collaborate with each other. We collaborate with identities. We don't collaborate with real people. We don't even know who you are really. We just have our assessments, and your identity lives in my assessment of you. So if we can start to consider, it would be more effective when I hear someone say something to me about me, not to take it personally, but to say, oh, I see, that's something they have as their opinion, looking from their particular perspective with their particular interpretation. Now, we can go into a communication knowing that that's more effective. I hope that all makes sense, because it's a lot of stuff to get into a few moments.
It makes perfect sense, Marcia, and we do it, and it's only when you become aware and conscious of these skills that you realize you are thinking in your mind all sorts of things that are not actually the truth. Like you mentioned, just a frown on the face, you don't know what that frown is for, but you put all sorts of meaning to it and you really believe it, and it's really, really helpful, and it helps you to take it less personally when you see things as they are rather than seeing them just the way you think they are. And I found that a really, really valuable skill. Marcia, thank you for being my guest today. It's my absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you, Mark.